Hello friends, welcome to my channel Clinical Biochemistry by Dr. P.K. Prabhakar. Today we are going to talk about the factors which affect the enzyme activity. In our previous video, we have already discussed about the basics of enzymes, their classifications, and today is the second video on the enzymes where we will talk about the different factors which affect the enzyme activity. So first, we should know what is enzyme catalyzed reactions. In this enzyme catalyzed reaction, normally we are going to have a substrate. Substrate reacts. We are having a substrate. This substrate reacts with it binds to the active site of enzymes, and ultimately we are going to have a product formations. So substrate bind on the active site of enzymes, and as a result we are going to get product, and enzyme will be unchanged. This is the whole cycle of how enzyme catalyzed reaction works. So we are going to have enzymes. So like here we are having enzymes. So this enzyme is having a active site. On this active site, substrate is going to bind. So there are different models, different kind of models we are having for enzyme activity or enzyme substrate binding. Like it is induced fit model, or we are having lock and key model. According to the theories, the induced fit model is the mostly going to be most people are going to accept that induced fit model. So substrate binds to the enzyme's active site, and as a result substrate fits to the enzyme's active site. So we are going to have enzyme substrate complex formations. It means substrate is associated with the enzymes. So we are going to have substrate loaded on enzyme's active site. There we are having substrate going to have different kind of conformational change or different reactions. Ultimately substrate converted into product. So we are going substrate enzyme substrate complex converted into enzyme product complex. So we are having product on the active site where substrate has been converted into enzymes. So it means reaction has been taken place here because of this enzyme, and product is going to be released from the active site, and enzyme will be in their original conditions. So this is a whole cycle of enzyme catalyzed reactions. In this, if you see, there are three components which were involved with substrate, enzymes, and ultimately we have got product, and enzyme will be unchanged. In this one, substrate, whatever will be the chemical nature, enzymes are normally proteins in the nature, and product will be according to the substrate. Whatever we are having substrate, similarly we are going to get a protein. Now this enzyme catalyzed reactions depends on various component, various factors. Like in this case, three component which is going to involve which substrate. So enzyme catalyzed reaction depends on substrate concentrations, it depends on enzyme concentrations, it depends on product concentration. But because enzyme is the protein in the nature, so enzymes structure, enzymes conformations also decides the enzyme catalyzed reactions. So enzymes conformation, enzymes structures, normally enzymes three-dimensional structure depends on pH, it depends on temperature, it depends on different binding sites present on the enzymes. So other than this substrate, enzymes, and protein products concentrations, there are number of other factors also which affect the enzyme activities in the enzyme catalyzed reactions, such as temperature, because proteins are going to be denatured at higher temperature, or temperature ultimately affect the proteins structure, or denatured protein will be denatured. Then we are having pH, that is hydrogen ion concentrations. So because hydrogen ion concentration also affects the enzymes, proteins, three-dimensional structure, tertiary structures. Then substrate concentrations, enzyme concentrations, product of the reactions or product concentration you can call it. Then presence of either activator or inhibitors in the system, in the medium, and ultimately last one will be time, means how much time you are going to provide it to the enzyme catalyzed reactions. Now first parameter is the temperature. As we know, enzymes are composed of proteins, and proteins at higher temperature, the proteins normally functional in their tertiary or quaternary structures, and tertiary and quaternary structure is maintained by number of non-covalent bonds. So enzyme will be in their active form in the tertiary or quaternary structures because of number of non-covalent bonds like hydrogen, van der Waals forces, then electrostatic repulsion, electrostatic attractions, ionic bonds. So these are different bonds. If you are going to increase the temperature or decrease the temperature, so that is going to affect the protein's three-dimensional structures. And if three-dimensional structure of protein will be affected, its activity will decrease or increase, means it will be affected. So now if you are going to increase the temperature, so for every enzyme, every protein, there is a temperature at which that enzymes will have highest activity. That is called as their optimum temperature. So for every enzyme there will be a optimum temperature, where at that optimum temperature enzymes will have highest activity. If you are going to increase the temperature than the optimum temperature, or if you are going to decrease the temperature less than the optimum temperature, enzymes activity is going to decrease. The reason for both the either this side increasing or for this decrease in the temperature affecting the decreasing the enzyme activity, the reason is different. What are the reason? If you are going to increase the temperature, so normally increase in the temperature affects or damages the removes the breaks the non-covalent bonds. So protein's three-dimensional structure will be distorted, and ultimately protein's structure will be modified, structure will be changed, so protein will be denatured, and this reaction, denaturation reactions occurs very fast. That's why you can see here the graph is slightly sharp, a sharp fall down in the graph is there. Whereas when you are going lower side of the optimum temperature, that time normally chemical reaction occurs because of the collisions, and collision means if you are going to give more energy to the systems, more energy to the substrate or enzymes, there will be more collisions and more reaction will be there. So when we are going to decrease the temperature, so their energy in the systems, energy in the substrate is going to decrease, so collision will be decreased, so less collision is going to happen, and less collision will happen, so reaction performance reaction is going to decrease. So here slowly it's decreasing, the rate of decrease is very slow compared to when we are having rate decreases at higher temperature. So this decrease in the rate is because of the protein denaturations or enzyme denaturations, and this decrease at lower side because of the less collision in the system. Now whenever we are going to see the graph of temperature versus rate of reaction, you can see here this graph. So this graph is normally a bell shape structure. So every time whenever we are going to plot a graph between rate of reaction versus temperature, we are going to get a bell shape curve. So in every case we will have a bell shape curve. That is the characteristic feature of the effect of temperature on enzyme catalyzed reactions. Means at lower temperature you will have low rate of temperature, slowly as you are going to increase the temperature reaching towards the optimum temperature, rate will be higher, and then if you are reaching at the optimum temperature, rate will be maximum, and then if you are still increasing temperature, rate will slowly decrease it. So the curve will be bell shape curve. Second thing is, for most of the enzyme, because enzymes works in biological system, and in the biological system means in the cells, normally they works at 37 degrees centigrade in human body, or normally in other places also. For most of the enzymes the optimum temperature is 40 to 50 degrees centigrade, and we are going to use a word that is called a temperature coefficient, or Q10 we are going to call it. Means for any enzymes up to the optimum temperature, from 0 degree to up to the optimum temperature, for every 10 degree rise in temperature increases the rate of double or whatever fold. So for whatever fold enzymes activity increases for every 10 degree rise is called as Q10 or temperature coefficient. Like in this case, if enzyme activity is here x and it becomes 2x here, means at 10 degree temperature it was x, and when I have increased the temperature at 20 it becomes 2x. So for this temperature 10 degree rise, the rate being double, so it means Q10 is 2, means temperature coefficient is 2 here. So for every 10 degree rise up to the optimum temperature, whatever activity increases, that is called Q10 or temperature coefficient. Most of the enzymes are normally active at 40 to 50 degrees centigrade, that we are knowing, but there are number of enzymes are there which even works at higher temperature, like snake venom phosphokinases, muscle adenylate kinase. They are even active at 100 degrees centigrade. Not only these enzymes, there are number of DNA polymerase, which is we are going to call it thermostable DNA polymerase, like Taq DNA polymerase, or you are having Vent DNA polymerase, or we are having PFU DNA polymerase, or we are having PWO DNA polymerase. These are different thermostable DNA polymerase which works even at 92 to 98 degrees centigrade. They are coming from different organism who normally lives at hot temperature, or like volcano craters or hot springs in their places. Some of the enzymes from the plants like urease have optimum activity that at higher temperature, that is 60 degrees centigrade. This may be due to the protein's structures. We have seen at higher temperature normally protein is going to be denatured, but if protein's structures is still maintained, still fixed, means not going to be deteriorated, not going to be denatured at higher temperature, means protein will be active. Like in this graph, if you will see here, this side when we are increasing the temperature, rate of reaction is going to decrease. This decreases because of denaturation of the enzyme. But if at 60 or 70 or 80 protein is not going to be denatured, means enzyme will be active. So in these cases, either in this case or in this DNA polymerase case or in this urease case, enzymes resist their activity. They are not very heat sensitive, they are stable at higher temperature also, they maintain their structure, that's why they are active at higher temperature also. So this is the effect of temperature on the enzyme activity. Second activity we are going to see, that is on the pH. When similar to enzyme temperature, for every enzymes there is a optimum pH, means different enzymes works at different pH. So for every enzymes we are going to have a optimum pH where its activity will be highest, activity will be maximum. Like in this case, for any enzyme this is the optimum pH. If you are going towards decreasing the pH towards acidic side, or if you are increasing the pH towards alkaline side, means higher pH, both activity of enzyme catalyzed reaction is going to decrease. Means here also, when we are going to plot a graph between rate of reaction, that in activity, and pH, we are going to get a bell shape curve. Means initially rate of reaction will be less, and slowly you are reaching towards optimum temperature, rate will increase, and ultimately after optimum temperature, rate of reaction is going to decrease. So rate of enzyme catalyzed reaction depends on the pH of the medium, because pH decides enzyme will be in which conformations. In that temperature, that pH is called as optimum pH. Most of the enzymes normally which lies in the living cells, they works at between pH 5 to pH 9. The optimum pH of an enzyme depends on where it normally works, but it is not necessary that enzyme is going to work at 5 to 9 only. Different enzyme, like in our human body, different location, different place have different kind of pH. Like our skin is having 5.5 pH. So any enzyme which has to work on my skin, that their optimum pH will be 5.5. Any enzymes which works in my stomach, their normal pH is 1.5 to 2.5. So optimum pH for any enzyme which has to work in stomach will be 5.5 to 1.5 to 2.5. Like in a small intestine, the optimum pH is around 7 or 7.2, slightly alkaline. So any enzymes which has to work in a small intestine, their optimum pH will be slightly alkaline. So most enzymes normally in our body works at 7.4, but it varies from organ to organ. So it can be high, it can be low. So like here is a table where we can see this pepsin, which is coming from stomach, and it works on peptide bonds. The optimum pH is, I have told you, stomach optimum pH is 1.5 to 2.5. So optimum pH for this pepsin is 2 only. Similarly, we are going to have urease, which is normally for urea degradations. It's produced from the liver and works on urea. Optimum pH for this urease is 5. Sucrase, which is coming from a small intestine and works on sucrose, that is disaccharides. Its optimum pH is 6.2. Pancreatic amylase, which coming from pancreas and works on amylose, that is starch. Optimum pH is 7. Trypsin, which is coming from a small intestine, works on peptide bond protein degradation. Optimum pH is acid alkaline, that is 8. And arginase, which is produced from the liver, works on arginine. Optimum pH is 9.7. So if you can see here, two enzymes, one is this sucrase, which is coming from a small intestine, another enzyme trypsin, which is also coming from a small intestine. So both enzymes comes from a small intestine, but the optimum pH is, one works at acidic pH, other works at alkaline pH. Similarly, urease, which comes from liver, and arginase, which also comes from liver. So both enzymes comes from liver only, but one works at acidic pH, other works at alkaline pH. Means different enzymes works at different pH. Means the optimum pH of enzyme is different depending on enzymes structure and their functions. Third, we are going to see where we will talk about enzymes concentrations. Normally every enzyme is having a binding site, that is called as enzymes active site, where substrate binds and normally reaction occurs and ultimately product will be formed. So as much as enzyme you will have, but the condition is substrate is sufficiently available there. So if you are going to increase enzyme concentration in the reactions where substrate is sufficiently available, it means increase in the enzyme concentration increases the binding site and substrate will bind and product will be forming. So rate of reaction will increase depending on the enzyme's concentration. So rate of reaction or velocity is directly proportional to enzyme concentration where sufficient substrate will be available. Means if you increase the enzyme concentrations, means you are going to increasing the binding site. If you are going to increase the binding site, means substrate will bind there and ultimately product will form. So more enzyme, more binding site, more product formation. So here rate is directly proportional to enzyme concentrations. But if you are not going to remove the product, so accumulation of product in a reaction cause enzyme inhibition. So that we will talk about the product concentrations. But here whenever we are going to plot a graph between rate of reactions or the velocity of reactions versus enzyme concentration, we are going to get a straight curve. Means it is the linear curve we are going to get. It means it is directly proportional. Only condition is substrate should be in the sufficient amount. Substrate should not be the limiting factor. Second, next effect is where we are going to talk about the substrate concentration. If you are going to increase the substrate concentration but enzymes are in the limited amount, so binding site is limited but you are increasing the substrate concentration. So in that case, initial phase till enzymes active site is free, like we are having enzymes. So if you are going to increase the substrate concentration, it will bind to the enzyme and rate of reaction will increase. But after certain time, when all the enzymes active site will be saturated with substrate, after that one, the increase in the substrate concentration does not affect the rate of reaction. Means there will be no effect, no increase in rate even by adding substrate. Why? Because all the active site has been utilized. But if enzyme is also in sufficient amount, then rate of reaction will still increasing. In this case, as enzyme is the limiting factor, So because active site is going to be saturated, no more active site will be available. So even after addition of substrate, reaction is not going to increase, it will be flat. So it is not at all going to increase. So it is not the linear curve we are going to get it. You will get a linear curve only when enzyme is also in the sufficient amount. But if enzyme is not sufficient amount, then we are going to get a curve, hyperbolic curve like this one. Next is the product concentration. The accumulation of product. If your reaction is continuously going on, means you are having sufficient amount of substrate and sufficient amount of enzymes, reaction will go on and product will form. If you are not going to remove the product from the reaction mixtures, after some time the product will sometimes binds to the active site, or it is going to affect the rate of reaction, it is going to decrease the rate of reactions. This type of rate of reaction where product ultimately decreases the rate of reaction is called as feedback inhibition. Like you can see in this graph H, we are having a substrate. This substrate, because of different enzymes, it is ultimately going to be converted into product. So substrate converted into product through a multi-step process where multiple enzymes are going to involve. If this product will be accumulated here and we are not going to remove the product, so this product will ultimately stop the synthesis. The production of product will be stopped by product itself. So this product itself works on these enzymes and stop their productions. This is called as feedback inhibition, where final product inhibits the first enzyme of the reaction, so no reaction will take place. So means product concentration is inversely proportional to the rate of reaction. Means if product concentration increases, rate of reaction decreases. If rate of reaction has to increase, you have to remove the product. So in this case, this is rate and this is product concentration. You will get roughly a curve like this one. So at the initial time when we have started the reaction, we will have the maximum rate, and slowly product formation occurs, product concentration increases, rate of reaction decreases, and ultimately it will be almost flat. Next is the activators. Activators, normally it is going to bind to the enzymes and increases their reactions. So some of the enzymes requires number of metallic cations, or sometimes anions also. We will talk about that one also. Mostly it is metal ions, metal cations like magnesium, manganese, zinc, calcium, cobalt, copper, number of things. Sometimes we require anions also, but exceptionally in certain cases only. Like chloride ion is required for amylase activity. Otherwise, we don't require negatively charged or cation anions for most of the cases. Most of the cases we require only anions. Remember this one. We require only few cases anions are required for enzymes activity as the activator. One of the example is amylase, which requires chloride ion. So this metal ions works as the activator in enzyme velocity through various mechanisms. Like it binds, sometimes it binds with substrate, sometimes helps in the formation of enzyme substrate complex, sometimes do the conformational changes. So different type of performance will be done by these activators. Ultimately reaction will be increased. So on the basis of this requirement of this metal ions or activators, we have two category. First category we are going to call it metal activated enzyme, and second category we are going to call it metallo enzymes. Both are different. Metal activated enzymes, in this case metal ions are not very tightly associated with the enzyme, so they are just held with the loosely associated with the enzymes. You can easily detach them, these metal ions, from the enzymes, so it can be exchanged, it can be removed very easily. Like ATPase is the enzymes which associated with magnesium or calcium, or enolase of glycolysis which is associated with manganese. These are normally metal activated enzymes where it is not tightly associated. Whereas metallo enzymes, these enzymes are hold very tightly and we cannot easily remove from the enzymes, and it is compulsory. Like some of the enzymes, alcohol dehydrogenase, carbonic anhydrase, alkaline phosphatase, carboxypeptidase and aldolase, these are associated with the zincs, means they require zinc for their activity, and zinc is tightly associated with the enzymes. Phenol oxidase requires copper, pyruvate oxidase requires manganese, xanthine oxidase of the uric acid pathway requires molybdenum, cytochrome oxidase requires iron and copper. These different metal ions associated with these enzymes very tightly, and they are metalloenzymes. So these are different factors. One factor I am not going to talk about here, that is called as allosteric regulators. Allosteric regulators on enzymes, enzymes we are having normally active site. Sometimes enzymes have other site than the active site, that is called as allosteric site. So allosteric molecules, allosteric regulators binds to this allosteric site and affect enzyme activity. So if rate of reaction will increase because of this allosteric components, it's called a positive allosteric regulator. If it is going to decrease the rate of reaction, it is called as negative regulator, negative allosteric regulators. So that we will talk later on when we will talk about the enzyme inhibitions. Now we are not going to talk about. The last part is time. Enzyme catalyzed, for every enzyme catalyzed reactions we require a specific time. If time will increase, product formation will increase, and if you are not going to give sufficient time to the reactions, product formation will decrease. So time is also directly proportional to the rate of reaction, means initially rate of reaction will be very fast, and as time goes on product formation will be there, and slowly rate of reaction is going to decrease. So in the ultimately at the last means on the when the rate of reaction is going to be completions, the rate of reaction will be very slow. So that is time. So these are different factors which affect enzyme activity. So this is all for today. In our next video we will talk about different kind of enzyme inhibitions. So thank you very much. Hope you will like the video. If you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe it. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.